criminals out of our country, number one, and I don't know when it was signed because I didn't sign it. Other people handled it, but Marco Rubio's done a great job, and he wanted them out, and we go along with that. We want to get criminals out of our country.
So maybe this is why he was talking so much about AutoPen this week, on the brain. This is a pretty big deal of a thing to not remember that he signed it, and the judge is rightfully now asking questions about what the intention was behind both the signing it at the time that he did and also getting those planes going, knowing that there was a ruling to stop it.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, there's a couple things though. This is yet another example where we've seen the administration pick something extreme to try to push the boundary of presidential power, to push the law, to push the courts. I mean, you know, of course, nobody wants terrorists in the country. This whole argument though is about the rule of law. And even in our own CNN poll, 84% of Americans want Donald Trump to follow the law. And some of us are old enough to remember when President Bush did not follow the law and we had warrantless wiretaps. And when Americans found out about it, they were furious. So the Trump administration continues to have this problem with this loose relationship with the truth. They don't seem to be able to present the judge with the data to say, here's who's on the plane. We can prove to you that these individuals are actually gang members. We're now hearing stories that some of them may not have been at all, and I can imagine the horror of being in one of these prisons if you're not. So, you know, again, people want him to follow the law. That seems to be very difficult to balance.
I mean, I can't imagine the horror of American families who have their children murdered by these illegal criminals that are in our country, and Donald Trump has a constitutional obligation to protect the American people. That's what over 77 million people voted for him to do.
When you say that I don't have to defend your behavior, defend your rights, I mean, your rights exist for a reason. They exist because
So criminals have rights?
I think lots of Americans.
Illegal.
I think lots of the Americans.
Answer your own question. Do criminals have rights?
Look, we have illegal criminals in our country that Donald Trump has a constitutional obligation to protect the American people.
Do criminals have rights? Do they have rights in this country?
Absolutely, and he's sending them back to their country to go through due process.
So the judge is basically asking, what's the process here? And the answer that the administration has given is that they actually don't want to say. According to the reporting, Todd Blanche, the Deputy Attorney General, said basically that the cabinet secretaries are currently actively considering whether to invoke state secrets privileges over the facts requested by the court's order. The court is asking, who are these people? What process was used to deport them? What laws were used to deport them? They don't want to say. They want to invoke state secrets.
Look, again, it goes back to protecting the American people. And this is crazy that this is even an issue. 77 million people, over 77 million people elected Donald Trump. They didn't elect Judge
Tiffany, we have a
Rossberg.
constitution,
So,
we have laws, we have Congress, we have judges, we have lots of fail-safes to protect the American people. You can protect the American people and protect our rights. I think you're setting up a false choice if you
And here's the thing here, with presidents, and it doesn't matter if it's Donald Trump or anyone, presidents have always tested executive authority. We remember when Barack Obama bypassed Congress during the Libya intervention. He bypassed Congress then. Donald Trump will have to answer the question. Now, honestly, I believe that this is a fight that Donald Trump wanted. He said that he was going to be very tough on immigration, and I think this is something that they're inviting. But I also believe, and this is just my assumption, I believe that they expected this sort of fight. Now, it may be a situation where it is said, okay, well, you can't do this anymore. And Donald Trump, even though he's, campaigned on immigration, I think that this is something that they kind of expect and know.
They need to do this because in order to get to the numbers that he wants to
Right.
get at,
That's the way that you do it.
I think they've determined that they can't go through a process. Well, Trump was asked about this today. I just want to play what he said about whether he needs to actually provide evidence to the courts.
Do you think you have the authority, the power to round up people, deport them, and then you're under no obligation to a court to show the evidence against them?
Well, that's what the law says, and that's what our country needs. And so when you ask me if we have the authority, did Biden have the authority to allow millions of people to come into our country? Many of these people hardened criminals at the top of the line.
But again, so two things. One, we've seen reports, they're finding out, like Biden did, they don't even have a place to put people. That's part of why they're looking at Guantanamo Bay and they're trying to get people out of the country. But more importantly, I want to go back to what we were talking about. You should be able to follow the law, the Constitution, either you believe in it or you don't, and you don't get to pick and choose when you follow it and when you don't. And this was a lesson that we learned during the War on Terror, when we found out that our president was actually listening to Americans, our government was listening to Americans illegally. You should be able to follow the law, keep us safe. Why couldn't they just say to the judge, here's the proof that all of these individuals, they went through due process, here's our proof that these are violent terrorists. Again,
Well, I'm certain that
we all
the
want
Trump
terrorists out of the
administration will be
country.
able to prove
They
that,
have
and they
it,
know
but
that
it's
this
been a
is,
week.
you know, I truly believe they know this is the
I
fight,
think the
that they
record
will win
speaking
in
on
the
that is
courts.
better than it's been on Doge, but yeah.
Well, one of the examples that, I mean, this is one of the most prominent examples, but a Venezuelan asylum seeker who was here legally was deported based on a tattoo that was of a soccer team, because the Trump administration is trying to claim that they can identify gang members based on their tattoos.
Well, you mean the identity of someone based on their tattoos? I mean,
I don't know, that
that's,
they can prove a gang affiliation based on the existence of a tattoo. This person had a tattoo that was associated with a soccer team.
Real Madrid, it's a Real Madrid
so
soccer
this is
team.
one case, right?
Actually, there's
Well,
This
two
is
or
one
three.
case, and then when you look at the bigger
Well, I
scope
think
of what we're dealing with
The
here.
issue is, what do we know about this, right? And I wanna get back to, I think, the idea that the Trump administration is under a lot of pressure, self-imposed pressure, to make these deportations happen faster. And one of the reasons that they wanna use this act is because they need to be able to cut corners, to not have to go through final deportation proceedings, so that they can get those numbers higher. And that's why, to your point, they're testing the system right now.
Well, they want to do that, but I'd say also they want to chill dissent. See, they want to use these laws, they want to abuse them, and they want to go after people we have political disagreements with. They don't want to go after those political disagreements through normal procedures like, running elections or going and trying to actually have a back and forth with someone they disagree with. They want to go and kick them out the country. They want to be the ultimate decider, judge, jury, and executioner of who belongs here and who doesn't. And that's just not how this country works.
Well, see, in this case, though, this isn't about political disagreement. These are about people who don't have the right to be here. Now, I do believe
Although
that
there
the
are other cases
administration,
that I think you
right,
can-
and I do believe that the administration should be careful, and they do need to be transparent, and they're gonna have to be responsive to the judge. So they can't just do kind of like a Wild Wild West sort of thing. And so there is some things that the Trump administration is gonna have to answer for.
But Wild Wild West was an open border with millions of illegals coming into our country, violent criminals coming in and killing innocent Americans.
All right, up next for us, backlash after Elon Musk visits the Pentagon. Plus, Trump says the Tesla vandalism is worse than January 6th attacks. A special guest is going to join us in our fifth seat.